hear me? Am I loud enough, or can you hear me in the back as well? Or
Yeah.
Cool. So hi, as mentioned earlier, I'm Pilar Huidobro. Maybe you've seen me on the internet as Altair, or maybe even Super Princess Pilar, maybe. And I'm here to tell you about my experience with Rails Girls Summer of Code. So I think it would be best to tell you a little bit of Rails Girls Summer of Code, just so you know what I'm talking about and aren't confused throughout the talk. So Rails Girls Summer of Code is not the best name for it. Sorry, bad introduction to it. But it's not only Rails, it's JavaScript, it's Go, it's Lua, it's anything. So open source project maintainers submit their projects to this non-profit organization, and students, which are usually teams of 2 women, apply to work on these projects for 3 months in the summer. Why women? Because there's not a lot of women in open source. I don't know if you've been in open source, but there's not a whole lot of women there. And this is actually a really great initiative. I took part in it myself last year and this year as a supervisor, and it's really amazing to see that women get into tech even. There are fresh newbies that get into tech, and stay in open source, which is really important. So, I should have probably had that slide, I'm sorry. Summer of Code. My team was myself and my teammate Shelly. I spent a very long time making stickers for our team, and for that I needed to make sprites. It was a very important part of the summer. Our coaches, Aaron, Ramon, and Clemens. Our mentors, Ola and Jan, and they were actually the maintainers of, well, some of the maintainers of the Hoodie project. And our supervisor, Marcus. And together we were Team Tessie. So, I'm sorry, that's a spoiler. Let's just go back to look at the roles. Us, as students, we applied, and we applied actually to several open source projects. The one that most caught our eye was Hoodie, because we felt that it really resonated with our views. There's lots available, like there was, I think, Sonic Pi as well, exorcism.io if you've heard of it. But we really liked Hoodie because it was about bringing all people into tech. You know, it builds the back end, and you just have to do the front end, and you can bring your project to life. So that really resonated with us. We did not have computer science experience. I had just started my first semester at university, and Shelly was actually a kindergarten teacher. But we thought, hey, cool, let's do this. We actually met at a cat cafe, and we were going to be Team Kitty or something. But yeah, Team Tessie was much better. Our coaches, Ramon is my brother. Aaron is a very enthusiastic meetup organizer in Vienna. You might have met him if you've gone to Vienna. You will have met him if you've gone to Vienna. And Clemens was actually our mentor at a hackathon, and he was just like, hey, this sounds really cool. I'm going to coach you. The coaches, the reason I'm describing the roles is because if you're interested in taking part, I think that's fantastic. The coaches do not have to be fully experienced with the project. You don't have to know everything about it. You don't even have to know everything about the technologies involved with the project. You just have to be willing to help the students learn. So, you don't have to be, in Hoodie's case, we were working in JS. You don't have to, I think none of our coaches actually had much experience with JS, but they still gave us presentations and workshops, and it was a lot of fun learning together. The mentors are pretty self-explanatory. They're the maintainers of the project, and basically your role as a maintainer, and I tell this to you, maybe you have an open source project in mind, or maybe you maintain one. You kind of guide the students towards issues, towards things that need to be made for your project that you think would suit them. This doesn't mean that it's like a huge thing that you need somebody to work on, but maybe it's something that you feel the students will resonate with. The supervisor's a bad word. I keep using it, but it's bad. They're not a project manager. They're not keeping a close, glaring eye on us. They're just there to see that we're doing good progress and are happy with the program. it's a very nice, easy job. I got to do it myself this year, and it's really amazing to see these students go from, you know, I want to get into tech to I am the master of this. Our first day in Summer of Code, I did a very, very interesting, hard part of learning. We were using Slack, and you know, I felt that it was my job to program Slackbot to give us a thumbs up every time somebody said the word awesome. And that's just the gif of Big Boss, you know, doing the internet kid thumbs up. And me being absolutely amazed at the fact that if you put hex color code into Slack, it gives you a little preview that's just the Tessie logo colors. So I was very proud of that. That's, you know, day one of Summer of Code. But, I mean, we ran into several obstacles. So when we signed up for Rails Girls Summer of Code, you know, the name is Rails Girls Summer of Code, Shelly and I prepared for a long, arduous 6 months. We only learned Rails. And our project was in JavaScript. And we kind of knew somewhere in the back of our minds, but maybe we just didn't think we'd get picked for this project. Maybe we thought they'd pick someone more experienced. But yeah, that's what happened. We had to learn JavaScript from scratch. And there are some good resources, not all that fantastic resources to get started with it. So, you know, we did the classics like JavaScript for cats. I personally used JavaScript for kids. It sounds very childish, but it was such a wonderful resource because actually all the intimidation of knowing all of this jargon was gone. It's explained for kids. It's explained in human language, and I could get it, and I could get into it and not be... Maybe the fact that it said for kids should have been embarrassing for me, but hey, it had a cute cat on the cover. I was just happy to be learning JavaScript. We also did a really fantastic program one weekend, and I feel like that weekend is kind of stuck in my head as a really golden memory. Katie Cunningham, she ran a workshop called JS in Your Jammies. And it's kind of like PyLadies Remote. Basically, it had no... I mean, she made a structure, but it had no like big company planned out structure behind it. She just said, I'm going to teach a bunch of people on the internet in the middle of out there how to do JavaScript from zero to kind of advanced. Like we actually got quite far, and it was really fun, and it was a bunch of strangers all speaking different languages. I believe it was kind of evening, no, I'm not sure, but basically everyone was in different time zones, but it was very cute to see everyone in their pajamas. I don't know if they needed to be in them still. I would have been. So yeah, there was that. Our next... Now this is... I see people laughing, and I wonder if they had the same experience as me. I hated Git, just bottom line, hated it. It terrified me. I found it kind of, why am I doing this? And this could be because we had one coach that loves Git. Like, if he could speak to humans in Git, he probably would. You know, like, just, you know what I mean. But, so, actually, something that he did, which was really great, is our first task was to make a to-do list, because, I mean, who doesn't start off doing a to-do list? I mean, a to-do list maker, you know, like, not actually write down a to-do list. Maybe that's what we started off with, but yeah. And he actually had us commit almost, not just every function, like almost every line, which sounds super annoying, but we actually got super comfortable with it, and the absolute hate just turned into like, this is actually okay, I guess we'll do it. Until my first rebase. I think I was working on a CSS framework for a hoodie. I'm not sure what I was working on, but from what I understood then, I had squashed all of their code, all of everything into my stupid little CSS framework, and my immediate reaction was to just like, oh my god, Aaron, please help. You know, I'm in the middle of a co-working space, so actually I didn't run out screaming, I was just internally screaming. until I got to lounge area and I'm like, oh my god, Aaron, I just squashed all of Hoodie's code, please help. And his reaction was pretty much to what my gut feeling telling me was, which was, oh my gosh, okay, breathe, throw it in the trash and just reclone it. But I'd actually done a lot of work that day, so I didn't really want to throw it in the trash and reclone it and redo everything. But luckily we had another coach, Ramon, who really loves, like I mentioned earlier, he's the one. He really loves Git, and he helped me through it. You know, he calmed me down and taught me everything. And actually, I came out really successful and victorious at the end of it, and feeling pretty confident that I could fix this giant mess that I had made. And that's like one of the beauties, and that's what I was mentioning about the different coaches with different skills. Like Aaron would give us all of these really fun workshops, and Ramon was there to hold our hands through the rebases and stuff. So, you know, it's a really enriching experience. Another big obstacle that I personally faced during the summer was Angular. But this is one of the first things that I faced in the summer, head on and super excited. And I was like, I'm going to learn Angular. I've heard of Angular everywhere, so I'm going to learn the Angular. And I sat down and I did all of, you know, Codecademy's thing, and I was so proud, and this was my huge achievement, and I ran around showing everyone my little certificate that I got there. And this was summer of 2015. So I don't know if that tells anything to any of you, but like literally the day after that beautiful achievement, Angular 2 came out. So all of my work was redundant, and I think that's when I stopped working with Angular. And by far one of the funniest obstacles, well, not obstacles, but mysteries that we hit. You know, we felt like we were solving mysteries along the way, you know, finding out the mysteries of Angular and JS and Git. But by far the weirdest was this one. Yeah. So, you know, like every other Slack last summer, we were just spamming Giphy. And my teammate, I think she wanted to work on an issue, to do a pull request, so she put /Giphy_mine, and she got a GIF of this guy. I can't pronounce his name, so, you know. So she got a GIF of this guy, and we're like, oh, that's weird. Okay, I'll just put /Giphy_mine again. And it's this guy. And we couldn't explain it, because online, if you looked at Giphy_mine, it was just like random things, just people saying mine, or the seagulls from Finding Nemo or something. But for some reason, on Slack, it was just this guy. Like, you could just put mine 1,000,000 times. And, you know, we're inquisitive, we're learners, we're going to find out what the heck is going on. So we write to Giphy, and they never reply. And the next day, it's just normal again. Well, sort of. Normal. So yeah. So, you know, the reason I'm here is, you know, to talk about this, right? How can I become more than just me and my tools? And I want to say this, and this is the first time that I say this, I've given this talk before, but I'm pretty much the product of other people being more than just them and their tools. Because I literally went from geneticist to back-end developer for a startup. So how can you do this? You can coach. I know that teaching's not for everyone. It's for some of us, but not for everyone. But, you know, the first time I coached was just, I think, 3 months fresh of my first programming workshop. I had attended Rails Girls Sempulten. It's a little city-ish thing in Austria. And I went back 3 months later to coach. And I still didn't feel confident enough to say that I knew everything. So they had sent us a guide, and I read that thing word by word, memorized every single thing on that paper. I was like, I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be the best coach there ever was. I hadn't really ever worked with a Linux machine. I only have that one. And my mentees only had Linux machines. So that was pretty much a fail. And it was extremely disappointing for me. Like, even though I knew all the things, you know, I thought, okay, I'm just gonna try anyway. We'll Google things together. We'll get it done. They will finish. They'll do great. They did finish, but I was extremely disappointed because one of my students, you know, we were having lunch break, and I was the only female coach at this event, and she had sat down with some other people, and she says, ugh, I overhear her say, ugh, I got the female coach. And I just thought, like, oh, I've just let down my entire gender by being awful at this. But the solace that I could take away was actually that my other student, I had two students, my other student wrote me an email the next day. Maybe she had overheard that, I don't know what brought that up in her. But she wrote me an email saying, you know what, thank you so much. We talked and you said you weren't that experienced, but it really made me feel like you're one of my peers, and that even though you don't know everything, I know even less, I could reach your level super fast. And we got to learn together, and it was just so much fun. And it didn't feel like you were my teacher and I was your lowly student. It felt like we were friends learning together. So you don't have to know everything to coach. Even if it's something you know very little about, you can volunteer to coach, or you can help someone out with a project and learn loads from them, and they will learn from you. The other one, I feel very bad about this one because we're at the last. Because usually I say, like, yeah, but you're attending a meetup just by being here, and you are. You are just attending a meetup and you're contributing, you know. During the breaks, you're having interesting conversation and meeting people, and maybe there'll be people that you work on projects with, or maybe you inspire them to do something. Just being there is so much. It's such a treasure to have you all here. And if you choose to start one up, that's also really great. I mean, I won't bully you. It's not for everyone, and it is tough. Another really great way to, you know, be more than just me and my tools is to create starter issues. Whether you maintain a project or you contribute to a project, you can create starter issues. So just to explain what that is a little bit, I would say a starter issue is not the issue that you need to get started with because it's easy. To me, a starter issue is the best introduction to your project. And what that means is that some people create dummy issues, like stuff that's already been solved, but personally, I think I would be very disappointed to fix something that's already been solved, you know, just to get a brownie point or something. It's an integral part of your project, that the person doing it has to actually delve into your project and find out about it and fall in love with it. And when they're done with it, they'll feel like a core contributor to your project. Like, they will feel like this is the most interesting thing to them. And I mean, I cannot understate how important that is, that you're getting a contribution for someone, but they're also getting something out of it. They're getting this wonderful feeling that they've helped out. There's a really great initiative, shout out, yeah, Your First PR. You can actually send them your starter issues. And I mean, your starter issues can have walkthroughs, you know. It sounds like a lot more work to create an issue and write a walkthrough how to solve it and stuff, but you're cultivating a culture. So in the end, it really pays off. It's not a hassle. It's not a waste of time. You can send them your starter issues, and they can, you know, do little shout outs for you and stuff to get people interested in your project. Another really, really important one that I would say is to be mindful. I do a lot of online gaming, and sometimes, you know, I get too into it and I kind of forget there's another person. I'm actually not rude, but people are rude to me. And I feel like they forget that there's another human being on the other side of that screen. You don't know their culture, you don't know their upbringing, you don't know what they're going through, and that's the scariest one, you know? So just be mindful, you know, maybe you're correcting a little typo, maybe you're correcting something that's wrong on a PR, but this person just took a bit of their confidence and, you know, put it there for you to either smash or cherish. And, you know, don't be the one to smash it. You can always say it, but in a nice way. So, what I was saying earlier about, you know, making the person... Are they okay?
Was that expensive?
Not anymore.
Yeah, the wardrobe? Or?
So what I was saying earlier about, you know, making the person feel cherished and special, this was by far my best day of Summer of Code. I can't even remember what I was working on that day or what I was doing, what was going on. I don't even remember what day it was actually, but I took this screenshot and it was so exciting for me to be on the hoodie page as a contributor. It was like the biggest deal ever because there are such cool people working on this project and you are there with them, you're part of them. And it's so important, it's such a fantastic feeling. I'm not gonna lie, so I took this screenshot and again, internally screaming through the co-working space, I ran out to the lounge and just showed everyone my amazing thing, my amazing screenshot of me being on the hoodie contributor page. And I mean, this would be very funny if you knew Shelly, but she's a cat person and this was pretty much her reaction because she was working from home that day. So, you know, there are so many ways in which we can be more than just us and our tools. You know, these are the start of a meetup, that's a hard one, but I mean, attend a meetup, inspire people, talk about stuff that you love, you know. You have absolutely nothing to lose, and you have so much to gain. You know, like, I don't know about you, but I felt pretty inspired by the previous talk. And actually, I mentioned to him earlier that when I went home from hearing his talk the first time, I started getting into tinkering with old game hardware. I'm not a hardware person, but I was like, this is so cool. I need to try something. You know, just inspire people, cultivate a culture, be nice, be amazing, you know, just go out there and get people excited about what you love. Start a group, start a project, start a working group, a learning group, anything. You really have absolutely nothing to lose. Thank you so much for having me.
Questions?
I left you all speechless. Oh, yes?
Did you figure out why you saw Jake? I can't pronounce his name either.
That's why I said that guy.
But have you figured out why that happened?
No, they never replied, and we tried to dig into it, but nothing came of it. You know, it was just I wanted to show you one of our unsolved mysteries, because, you know, we got over Git and we got over Angular, but we never solved this one.
But it was a big part of the project, right?
Okay, well, during the project, the students write a daily log. Like, we actually have to write every day what we worked on, even though we don't do PRs every single day. You know, I just read a book on JavaScript or something. And when I was preparing this talk, I was going through the daily log, and we had posted every single GIF that we got that day, which was like 20 GIFs of this guy, and I was like, this obviously was a huge deal. I need to mention this. So yeah, it was a memorable day.
Well, thank you very much for giving the talk.